as a shutout is 4-0, right?
Correct.
And a tech fall with a score by the losing wrestler is 4-1.
Correct.
Then a shutout in a, thank you, sir. A shutout in the regular, a decision match is 3-0, and a shutout or a decision when both sides score is 3-1.
Correct.
Okay. So
see that sheet?
All right. So we got Nain Vazquez versus Ryan Henningson. So Vazquez is. So we got Vazquez. He's a cadet national, UWW cadet national placer. So he's taking on Henningson here. So we started the duel at 113.
Correct.
For people that don't know, they start the duels. They draw a number out of the hat, a weight class out of the hat, and it just keeps rotating every match.
Every round. Yep.
So we're going to finish with the 100 and 106 pounders. So
his opponent from Minnesota, Ryan Henningson.
Right now, just a lot of hand fighting. So one of the difference too is, like I just saw, we got an attention.
We got a passivity call.
So people that are only familiar with freestyle, let's talk about the difference in passivities and how that works.
That's the biggest difference other than active legs. Passivity in Greco-Roman, there's no limit to the number of passivity calls, but the first two are passive, 1 point, and you ask the wrestler if they want them in parterre or standing. The second and passivity calls after that are just 1 point, and we continue wrestling. We don't stop. You just verbalize it. Red's passive, blue gets a point, and we continue wrestling. Whereas in freestyle, we have the warning where we stop, and then we stop to get on the activity time.
Which we call the shot clock, right?
Right, same thing.
Okay.
It just takes a long time to set up an attack in Greco-Roman because you eliminate half the body, so we don't want to stop it. And the referees are taught to try to time that first passivity in a 0-0 match at the minute-and-a-half mark and give those athletes a chance to wrestle.
So when you're looking at something like that, like I was in Lincoln, obviously you were there working it, and a couple distinctions. At the senior level, a tech fall in Greco is 8 points, not 10. But generally, is it a hard rule, a minute and a half in, somebody has to be passive? Or
No.
Okay.
It's not a hard rule. It's just, if we get to a minute and a half, or a little bit earlier, a minute and 15 in, and it's clear somebody's passive for whatever reason, blocking, lacing the fingers, head down, we call it a little bit earlier.
Oh, that was nice. Yep. Listening.
But we want to make sure that we don't have too much time. We want to let them wrestle that second minute and a half without interrupting them if possible. And I want that second passivity to be able to use in the second period.
Makes sense. Vazquez here is doing a nice job up 9-0. It's really important for Blue here to score 1 point, though, right?
Absolutely.
Because it changes the dual meet score dramatically.
It keeps you in a match. When you're losing a match, you score a point, it keeps you in the game. I had a match earlier today, 160 pounds between Ohio and Minnesota.
Okay.
Where I had to make 3 passivity calls to get it to 2-1 with a minute to go. And I told the athletes, I'm done. I'm going to go back here and watch you wrestle. It's up to you to score points.
You actually told them that?
Yeah.
What happened?
I got a takedown out of them.
That's good.
Well,
the really good referees don't want to be in the middle of the controversy, right? They want to call the points and call it as fairly as possible. And referees are like coaches and athletes. They don't always make the perfect call, and that's why you have the other two people to confirm, and that's why you have video replay and challenge bricks and all those sort of things.
Absolutely.
I think you told me this off air when we were doing our podcast that, and I want to make sure I use the terminology right, but you said a lot of times you don't necessarily look for the passive wrestler, you look for the active wrestler. Particularly
in Greco-Roman, we look for who's trying to dig under hooks, over hooks, get the head down and get a lock.
And then by default, the other person is the one.
By default, the other person is negative wrestling or passive.
We've got one of your colleagues, one of the best officials in the country, Sammy. That's going to be, what are they going to go here? 2 red? They go on one blue, one blue. That's a huge call.
Oh, we have our first challenge.
All right, so first of all, is this what they're using for bricks?
Evidently.
Okay, so we can
It is
discuss that.
It's a Texas Rangers stuffed horse. Okay.
Sammy Julian brought the Texas Rangers over to the microphone for us.
Okay.
So let's take a look at the challenge here.
So
what are we looking at, Danny? It's whether it's
we have blue attempting an action in the zone and not scoring danger on the throw. Obviously not scoring danger, but it's whether red trapped him or whether blue did enough to take it through for, hey, I made him go out of bounds on his head for 1 point.
So if it's red landed on him, it's defensive 2, not 4, because blue initiated the action. Okay?
Right.
And then if blue got 1, it's for the correct throw, essentially.
Correct. Or correct throw would be 2 points, blue.
Okay.
We have a 1 point option for, I made him put his head out. Or whatever.
Which way would you have called it based on looking at this replay?
When I saw it live, I liked what Sammy called, but every time this is running through, I might like one blue because blue came through to his chest.
Yeah, right. But when you see it quick, but that's why the three
I like
different
one blue better than 2 blue.
Okay, well it has to be 1 blue
because
or 2 red.
They offered.
That's what they offered, right? Now, what if somebody had offered 1 blue, 2 blue, and 2 red? Would there be a brick, or would they just talk about it together?
If no brick comes out, the chairman has the option to call a conference and put a score up on the board.
Okay.
But we're trained. If a brick comes out, don't call a conference. Just let it go to video.
Okay.
So.
This is an interesting one for right off the bat. And
Where are they watching it?
Yeah, they're definitely looking
they're watching it up here?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our head official, Jerry Kuntz, and our clinician, Tim Pearson, watching the video at the head table. Veteran officials. Very qualified.
Well, and team point wise, this is a big difference, right? It's either 11-0 red, which would end the match,
right.
It'd be 4 for red,
it'd be
or
4-0,
right?
Or we're at 3-1 and still wrestling.
Yeah, it's a huge
difference.
difference.
It's a big call.
Yeah, I mean 4-0 and 3-1 is literally a 2-point swing. And we've seen how close these. This isn't your first rodeo, and isn't mine.
And I don't know how it's going to come back, but
I have to tell you before we get too hot and heavy into this.
Right.
Before we get too heavy into this, your wife yelled at me for you not telling her ahead of time you were on the microphone.
She told me. I went out there and she goes, "You didn't." I thought I did tell her. But
that's a problem when you're that humble, Danny. You just got you got your toes in all the deep waters.
Well, I'm on the phone so much. I thought I was on the phone
just
when I said
it. Just by osmosis, you told your wife, right?
Right.
One of my married friends says if there's not eye contact and a nod, it doesn't count. This is taking a long time, isn't it?
This is taking unusually longer than I would like. It makes me a little uncomfortable. Come on, guys.
Table worker at 4. Table worker on mat 4.
In a situation like this, I mean, I guess there's this, it's the $64,000 question, right? You want to get it right. You also just don't want to make this a 10-hour dual meet, right?
No, I like as fast as possible.
Yeah.
These guys are ready to wrestle is my concern as an official.
And Sammy took a look at it and then made a decisive decision. And whether or not it's overruled or not is, whatever the case may be, you just go with it, right?
Yes. And they came back with 1 blue.
1 blue. So as you said, now we're 9-1 in wrestling, and red gets their brick back.
Yes.
Oh, they count. So there's another one also there.
Correct. Now, red challenge there because the confirmed call on the mat was 1 blue.
That's right.
So red threw in their stuffed horse, their challenge block.
We'll call it the brick.
And they looked at it, came back with the same call. The team, so we have the 1 blue plus 1 more for it not changing in their favor or a lost challenge.
And now they're also out of challenges for this match.
For this bout.
Yeah, for this. Yeah,
Yes.
for this bout. Sorry,
Whatever.
not
Yeah.
the dual meet.
They get this back on the next weight.
Right. Well, if anybody was sweaty or tired, that's no longer the case.
Right.
So 9-2, we're battling here, halfway through the first period.
And now the team score is impacted. And
yeah, even if it's a tech, it's 4-1 now instead of 4-0.
Absolutely.
Right. So just that unless it's a pin, then that would have been the only way it gets worse because it would have been 4-0 and now it's 5-0.
So it may have gone from 4-0 to 3-1.
Yes. Significant.
So.
Nain Vazquez, Ryan Henningson.
Well, you know what? I don't think it was a bad brick toss by Red, even though they lost it, because it looked, like you said, it looked at first like that was the right, Red should have scored it.
Absolutely.
You've got some of the best high school Greco coaches in the country here in these two guys, in the two teams' corners.
Yes.
2. Oh, that was tricky. That was tricky. He went the opposite side for the tech ball.
So we went from maybe going 4-0 to 4